Well, Beth is a hero in this city and pretty tough, as you've come to know.
Yes, she is.
But she started a spiritual journey for you. You want to just recount some of that?
Yeah, but I want to start with the toughness part because
that's good. I like that.
Well, the whole thing about how we met, which I write about in the book, which you have to know. I mean, Beth is she grew up in the Methodist Church, New England, kind of repressed. She does not talk about her feelings. And thank you, by the way, for the Federation for being involved in this. I mean, I'm deeply moved and humbled that that the community would come out for me. I feel I love what federations do around the country and how we support each other, and I love that you're such a big partner kind of outside the Jewish community to be part of something that is about life. I mean, that's what I think this museum is about. It's about life, and as Jews we choose life, and so I'm just so happy that you all are out. But I say that parenthetically. Look, I mean, as Jews we understand that we're a more expressive people. And my wife is not that way. And so this notion that I would write about her in this detail is horrifying for her. And was then and is now. But anyway, I met Beth when it was during jury selection, and I was, pretty smitten with her, and she was really not that interested, and just kind of, wasn't even that interested when she met me, and I did my best to try to be charming and funny and got to know her and so forth. But yeah, she was tough, and I remember, one of the episodes, I think McVeigh wrote to her during the trial, and wrote her a note, which was, confiscated and all the rest. And, I mean, she just didn't scare easily. But what I write about in the book was, here's this woman who is the daughter of a pacifist, mind you, her mother, the daughter of a nuclear submarine captain, and she was the one who made the argument for McVeigh to get the death penalty, and she's not really that supportive of the death penalty, but feels like if you're going to have it, that Timothy McVeigh deserved it. And in going back over her argument for the purpose of the book, I was again so struck by what she did, because she argued, if you remember the defense, that McVeigh, who was a veteran, was somehow courageous, and that he was trying to foment revolution, and that that it was a kind of an act of courage. And she, especially infused with that sense of her father, that that you don't, to kill civilians is the ultimate sign of cowardice. And she felt it was really important to take the jury along. If the government was asking for him to be killed, that she had to be able to ask the jury to do something that she'd be willing to do, which is to look him in the eye. And she did that. She looked him in the eye and she pointed at him and she said, tell him what he is, that he is no hero, that he is a coward and he deserves to die. And she described that to me as that she needed to kind of give this jury permission and strength to be the voice and the conscience of the community. And she did that, and of course they voted to give him the death penalty. But what was striking in the Washington Post, as they wrote about it that day, and the scene in Denver afterward, where people came out of their offices and they were lining the streets, and there was a level of kind of cheering that there was justice in this case, that it was done, that the government had acquitted itself so well, that the Post wrote that here a jury had afforded McVeigh a level of justice he was, of course, not willing to provide anyone else, and that he probably didn't even deserve. But in America, that's how we do things. So it was just an extraordinary moment, and that moment of toughness has been replicated by Beth, which is why she's such a successful trial lawyer now. The spiritual piece of it is that I write in the chapter about meeting her that I fell in love with a woman who argued for the death penalty of, here, summarize it. I fell in love with a woman seeking the death penalty for a notorious terrorist. She ultimately changed the way I think about faith and God. So the way Beth did that, when we met and when we were going to get married and then we had young kids, we faced a question that a lot of us face, which is how are you going to raise your kids in an interfaith marriage? It was very important to me that my kids be Jewish. Given my own background, I had a very strong ethnic identity as being a Jew. I was not particularly religious, but I had this, cultural background. And she said, okay, she was not interested in converting, but she asked me a question I thought was very important. She says, look, I know what you are, I know who you are, but what is it that you believe? And it was that question that really inspired me to dig deeper, to study. And I had been studying with a Jewish educator for almost a decade. And to try to seek the questions that I'm seeking in this book, which is, how's your faith? What do you really believe? What's the basis of that belief? And how do I deepen my faith? And she was really the inspiration for that, with that question and with her challenges to me. I mean, you can imagine Beth is a formidable woman. She wasn't just going to, kind of accept everything and say, well, that's fine. If we were going to be a Jewish family, she wanted me to lead us in faith and lead us on a spiritual path, which is the way she was raised.
And you were raised, your father was Jewish and
Yeah.
your mother was not.
Yeah, my mother was Catholic, lapsed Catholic, left the church. But as I say, I grew up in Los Angeles. And we went to the Synagogue for the Performing Arts. I mean, it just can't get any more Hollywood. My father was in show business. My father just died several weeks ago. And he was a wonderful man, David Gregory. And he was in show business. He was an agent. He was a Broadway producer, larger-than-life figure. And so, yes, we went to the Synagogue for the Performing Arts, which was held in the Directors Guild building in Beverly Hills. And it was a door, a glass front building, and inside were Academy Awards and pictures of movie stars. So I thought the Academy Award was some kind of Jewish icon for years. So I had this kind of, again, very cultural background, like a lot of Jews. I mean, you grow up as just Jewish, ethnically, culturally Jewish, without real belief. And so that was my background. And that was, again, for Beth, she respected that, but said, you got to know. You've got to dig a little deeper here if you're really going to lead us in faith, and I've tried to do that.